So, you're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm set.
All right. All right. So we are live on the YouTubes.
Yep.
All right.
Pull up the note real quick. Cool.
We did get one more question just since I did the list.
Okay.
Should we get to that? It's muted. Got this muted. All right.
All right. Let me clear my throat real quick and then we'll get started. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Another edition of Late Night Reds Talk Live. Unfortunately, this is the eliminated edition, but we are not going to sit there and hang our heads on a disappointing finish to the year. We're going to talk about how much fun the 2021 Cincinnati Reds were to cover. We are going to get into how this could have been different. We're going to talk about some highlights, some lowlights. We're going to get a bunch of thoughts, and we got a ton of questions for this episode to get to. Thank you all so much for that. We're very excited. I am Tim Daniel, here as always with writer of Red Leg Nation himself, Mr. Cincinnati Reds Twitter leader himself, Mr. Nicholas Kirby.
What's going on? Just watching Cincinnati Reds and designated hitter Delino DeShields this evening. What more in life could you possibly want?
Yeah, I like your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, wife got it for me.
I like it. I've had this since Griffey got inducted. What was that, 16?
Not sure if I could get a shirt on from 16 around my leg. So
that's not what I'm trying to do here, bud, by any means. If you are checking us out on the YouTube, you are recognizing Carlos is not with us just yet. He is doing some family things. He should be joining us later tonight for the show. We're going to talk about that. But let's go ahead and we'll get into the topics of discussion. Like I said, we have a ton of questions. If you have more you want to add, we will answer them tonight if you're here in the chat hanging out with us. So thank you as always. And I'm sorry, I want to say one more thing before we get started. I just want to let everyone know for this being our first season, for Nick and I coming up with this idea literally through a Twitter DM. This couldn't have gone better. Obviously, it would have been awesome to be talking about this team in the playoffs, but for the two of us and Carlos, it's been awesome. We've had some guests we never thought we'd ever be talking with. We got a lot of great fan interaction. You guys, talk with us during the show. You guys send us questions on Twitter. It means a lot. I've been podcasting for 12 years, and I've been begging for this interaction on all my shows. So to finally have this here has been awesome, and we're going to keep trucking, and we'll let you guys know what that plan is. But Nick, before I get all sentimental and crying and all that stuff, we got to start with, look, it sucks. We know they're not playing in the playoffs, but for only the fourth time in the last 20 years, this team does end the season with a 500 record. I was there to watch them clinch their 500 record. 2 straight seasons having a 500 record for the first time since the 2012 and 2013 seasons. I feel like as much as we're all disappointed there's no postseason, we shouldn't take for granted what we had this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked, this was a team projected by Fangraphs to win 79 games. The highest they got at any point this season was 88 in the projections, which is what the Cardinals are at right now with still 5 games left to play. So of course, it's I think it's more probably disappointing in terms of just how the last 2 decades have gone, more so than this year. I feel like what this team did and what this team was able to accomplish, I feel like was I think pretty special, and it was a very, very fun season. So I feel like it's best to kind of try to look at it in the perspective of just this year and just the team and the players that were assembled and kind of what they were able to accomplish. And I feel like if you look at it that way, you're probably going to feel a lot better at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I still feel like too, because I know a lot of people, I've seen the Twitter conversations, and there's a lot of people who are like, I don't feel very confident about this team for 2022. And I don't know if I understand that. I mean, you're already looking at the 5 guys who started majority of your games this year are under contract, so it's not like you're like really panicking there. I don't know what the bullpen's going to look like, obviously, but you got to think, Luis Sessa, he's obviously going to be there. I just saw Cowboy yesterday saying that he discussed him being in the rotation, which I wish Carlos was on here to talk about that. But he's going to be there. More than likely Michael Lorenzen. I know he's got this is free agent year. What happens with him? But even offensively, look, I know the big thing hanging over everyone's head is Nick Castellanos is likely to opt out, and I get it, the concern there, but looking forward, building off of this year with all the prospects you have, like I don't really know if I'm necessarily panicking that they're not going to be good for 4 or 5 years. I don't understand the logic behind that because their farm system is rebuilt and looks really good.
Well, I mean, I think you just start with Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle. There's not a lot of teams in baseball that have a better 1-2 punch than that. And the Reds have both of those guys locked up for the next 2 seasons. Of course, Gray's locked up for next year. He's definitely a potential trade candidate. It's, I think, something we'll kind of a similar, somewhat of a question of that. But yeah, I mean, when you start with those 2 guys, that's a really, really good start. And, there's a lot of young, talented offensive pieces with India and Stevenson. Looks like Votto's got some more life left in his bat. Winker. There's a lot of really, really, really good pieces on this team. And, I know everyone is, some of the news we've heard over the last, couple weeks. Remember, the Reds won 97 games under Bob Castellini at one point. Right. He could be a terrible owner. You could still win with a terrible owner. There's lots of teams that are going to be playing in the playoffs this year with terrible owners.
Seattle.
If you really put all your faith in your I don't know, your emotions into who owns the team, fans of most teams would be pretty disappointed, I would say.
Yeah, if you don't root for like the Lakers or the Yankees, then like, there's not really, if you're like basing on ownership, then like it's not the way to go. That's not the way to be the fan. And I understand that, it's the big what if is, what if they tendered Raisel Iglesias and Archie Bradley? What if they made efforts for the bullpen? But, I feel like if that's how we're just going to always look at this year, then we're really doing this season a disservice. You talk about, you're going to have the National League Rookie of the Year this year. I don't think anyone's taken from him in the last 5 games of the season. And you talk about the resurgence of Joey Votto when, a lot of people question, will we ever see him be really good at baseball again? And he certainly was, obviously. You take away from Eugenio Suarez' September where he came back and has hit really well. I know the stat line doesn't look good for the season, but that September gives you something to build off of and believe in. So yeah, I don't think I'm freaking out about this. I know that financially they're not strapped by any means. So, if Nick Castellanos leaves, I know this isn't the best free agent class, but I don't think they're going to be like shit out of luck by any means. Like a Kyle Schwarber, would he look bad in left field in Cincinnati? I don't think so, but the Red Sox also might want to keep him. So we'll see.
No more. We don't need 2 winkers out there. That's a whole other story, but I really do think defense is the most, the most unseen reason for the Reds, not getting over the top. I don't know if that was the sole reason, but I think that might be just as close to the bullpen. And I know a lot of people think I'm crazy, but when you look at the amount of, defensive run saves or outs above average, whatever you want to quantify, and you compare that with like the Cardinals, it is a astronomical difference between the two. And just turn on a Cardinals game and watch their outfielders. They have like 3 center fielders out there, and that stuff all adds up. It sneaky adds up on you. So, I don't. that's something I really would like to see the Reds, kind of, look at and address is trying to find some better defensive players. But, spending money, sure, it would have been great. We all wish the Reds would have done that. I don't think Iglesias by himself gets this team over the top.
No,
it's closer.
No.
The Reds are probably in a more interesting spot. But let's not forget who the Reds' top free agent target or the biggest rumor was Didi Gregorius this offseason, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Farmer completely outperformed him. It's not even close. So, I mean, like, people would have felt better about that, but it would have been a detrimental move. And think about this. The Reds signed Didi Gregorius this offseason. Does Jonathan India ever become Jonathan India?
Nope.
Because he wouldn't have been on the opening day roster.
Not at all.
No chance. And it took him almost 2 months to get going. And so, I mean, there's always so many what ifs, but, and maybe the Reds completely lucked in. Well, I'll say it, the Reds did completely luck into the Jonathan India situation. Let's be clear. But, man, it worked out. And Jonathan India is the most valuable player on the Cincinnati Reds in 2021, in my opinion.
I completely agree.
He leads in wins above replacement. And, I mean, he's been on the not to anyone else's fault, but he's been on the team all year. He didn't miss a month, because a Brewers pitcher threw at his hand, although he did get hit 1 billion times, but somehow he's never gets hurt, or never hurt to get out of the game. But yeah, I mean, there's so many what ifs, and you move. It's like you move one piece. Well, this piece might fall, and you move one piece. This piece might fall. So I don't know. It's a weird season, a good season, a lot of interesting parts and pieces, and just one of the most wild seasons where so much happened over the course of a year. It was a roller coaster. But you know what? This last month, say what you want, man. You watch a game like tonight. I'm a diehard Reds fan. I'm having a hard time getting really interested in this game. I didn't have that problem even a week ago. Man, I was locked in, and that's a great feeling. And I hope we have that feeling the majority of seasons to come, because it's such a different vibe, and it's so fun, and it's so exciting, and the hope and the belief and just the energy that it brings.
Yeah, but if you read Twitter, they act like it's like the last 5 years of the Montreal Expos is what the Reds were this year, and that's asinine. It's like, no, they were good. They were a good baseball team. It just
the Vancouver Reds.
Right. Shit just didn't go their way. It happens. The Yankees have had years where things didn't go their way. They didn't make the playoffs and had a winning record. It just is what it is. Maybe that's a bad example because they've been mediocre for about 20 years. But anyway, all right. So let's kind of move around. So obviously with them being eliminated, that means the St. Louis Cardinals will be playing the LA Dodgers in the wild card, it looks like. And the Cardinals are winners of 17 straight. Unbelievable. So the question really here is, was it more about what they did in September, or was it about the Reds not being able to hold on to it? And I think it's fair to say there's a little bit of both, but I feel like just, what was it? The Reds would have to have gone, if the Reds had gone 7-3, they would have been like, they would have had the spot still or been tied or something like that. I don't remember exactly how that went, but I kind of, as much as you hate to do it, the devil magic looks to be real. I guess you got to tip your cap. I mean, this is a team that didn't look very good being St. Louis for majority of the year, and now they're having that freaking 2004 Moneyball end of the year run, and it's driving me crazy. But at some point, you just kind of got to, respect where respect's due. It's a franchise that knows how to win. It's very rare the Cardinals are out of it. So, I always, I dislike the Pirates more than I dislike the Cardinals, strictly because I respect the Cardinals too much for being good.
Yeah, I mean, you have to tip your cap to the Cardinals. Whenever you have a team that wins something like 17 games in a row, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of them playing really well, them finding good players, whatever, and a lot of luck. It always is a combination. It can't be one or the other, because you're not going to get lucky without talent and win 17 in a row, and you're not going to be talented without lucky and win 17 in a row. So you got to give them a lot of credit. I despise Mike Shildt, but man, you got to give that guy credit, because that looked like a sinking ship, and he kept them afloat, kind of like David Bell last year. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of the same concept where, man, they felt completely out of it, and you know, he kept them going, kept the energy going, whatever, all the cliches you want to say there, and they got on a run. Like I've already said, their defense. I mean, that I think that was a huge part. If you watch, I've watched way too many Cardinals games this year, man. You really, this last month, you saw their defense just really stand out when they were all healthy. So yeah, I mean, you know, and I have no idea how they won 17 games in a row with that rotation. It makes absolutely no sense, but they had guys, you know, pitch well, and the guys that didn't pitch well, they pitched on the right night, and here we are. But, you know, like I said earlier, I mean, the Reds never got above 88 wins. Not at one point this entire season did they get above an 88 win projection. The Cardinals are at 88 right now. So sure, the Reds played poorly in September, and you know, some of the blame goes to them, because if they would have played better, they would still be, you know, fighting here in the last week. But without Jesse Winker, I don't think there was any way they were going to get above 88 wins. You know, the projections never said they should have, and that was with Jesse Winker. So yeah, it's hard to really do anything other than tip your cap. Go Dodgers.
Yeah, in case anyone is keeping track at home while we're recording, the Brewers are up 4-0 on the Cardinals in the top of the 7th right now. So
don't believe it.
I know. I know. I know.
Nope. Refuse to believe it.
Yeah. How many nights have we been texting each other like, oh, they're down in the 6th, and it's like,
when it got to like double digits, I was just like, nope, they're winning every night. Yeah. I until I see them lose, I'm gonna believe they're gonna win.
I'm with you, man. It's it sucks. I think the thing that's the most irritating is the guys they've spent a ton of money on lately. Like the past few years, the Goldschmidts and the Arenados were just like fine this year. You know what I mean? It was like the Tyler O'Neills that were kicking ass. It was the Harrison Baders having stretches where they were playing really well. When you're like, what the hell is happening? Like, you know, like you're expecting, like when they trade for Nolan Arenado, I said at the beginning of the year when we started doing this show, I was like, you know, I think Arenado puts them in the driver's seat for the Central. I was wrong, because he was pretty rough for most of the season. But like, that's the thing that's so frustrating is it's like, it's not the dudes they spent a ton of money on that you would expect, and they expect to beat you on a nightly basis. It's Harrison Bader and Tyler O'Neill, and like Tyler O'Neill's really good. I'm not taking away from him. But it's those guys that are like beating you as like their homegrown talent. You're like, God, what can you do about that?
Tyler O'Neill's a superstar, man.
He's awesome. He's so good.
Man, I want to dislike him, but my goodness, he's fun to watch. He is so talented. Man, the ball explodes off his bat. He's for a left fielder. I mean, he's as good of a defender as there is.
Yeah, he is.
He's a problem. And I tell you what, I've said this, I think in some of our group chats, I'm not sure he's not the best player in the NL Central going into next year. And that might sound crazy, but man, he is really, really good. And I hope I am dead wrong and he just comes crashing down. Because if he doesn't, that Cardinals team's really, really, really looking scary for the next, you know, they got him locked up for several more years. Especially if they, you know, add more pieces around him.
Yeah, because I thought for sure going into the year that their best outfielder would be Dylan Carlson. And that shows that I don't know anything about baseball, apparently.
Well, he was supposed to be. I mean, he was. Yeah. I mean, he was the consensus, you know, rookie of the year front runner at the beginning of the year, and he didn't have a bad year. I think he was an above average hitter. He hit like a rookie should. You know, right. Jonathan India didn't hit like a rookie should. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Carlson takes a big leap. India, you know, maybe I don't think he's going to take a big step back, but kind of, you know, comes a little bit, you know, closer down to earth. And that, you know, that might be a really fun thing to watch the next, you know, 3 or 4 years is which one of those guys kind of takes off a little more than the other. I think they might be, you know, kind of neck and neck over the next couple of years. So that's kind of might be a fun, I know they're different positions and whatnot, but, you know, both starting the same, you know, full year together, and kind of both, you know, Carlson being the preseason front runner and India just, you know, mopping the floor with him this year. That could be kind of a fun little battle going forward.
Yeah, not to mention too, if you're keeping it in the Central, Brian Hayes is also still coming up. So that makes it, pretty interesting as well, adding him to that list also. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement to look forward to there. Looks like Carlos is gonna be joining us here in about a minute, but which is perfect for the segments we're about to do. I mentioned earlier when I talked about like the discrediting of this team, this being the Reds, because we're sick of talking about the Cardinals already. But in September, a man hit 7 home runs who really at some points looked very lost this season. We know him as Gino Eugenio Suarez. I was there at GABP the other day when I saw him hit one. It was awesome. I was probably one of like 30 people there that day, but it was great to see him looks like he's finding his swing again. It gives you a little bit of confidence to see him, having this going into the off season. Hopefully he's not diving in any more pools or cutting any more foods or anything like that. Stay away from those, or at least just tip this, like walk into the pool or something. But an awesome month for him. Feels like we're getting his swagger back. Makes you wonder, what the future is of third base for the Reds, because, obviously that Mike Moustakas thing has not worked out as well as anyone wanted it to. But you got to feel very good for Suarez for being, a fan favorite, having, the good vibes only, as he's well known, to finally see like the good vibes only pay off. And for a guy who like kept saying all year, like, I'm going to find my swing, it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, most importantly, just, I'm so happy for him,
Same.
He is, sure, he makes a lot of money to play baseball, but it's got to be a brutal year when you're counted on to be, one of the top hitters, and it never clicks for you all year. And you never saw his positive attitude waver. When he got benched for Mike Moustakas, he was the first guy standing up cheering. The other day, there was I think Jose scored the winning run. Gino was the first guy out of the dugout. He's a great teammate, great guy. It's so easy to root for. So you're so happy for him. I don't know if this translates into 2022 or not, but it doesn't hurt.
It definitely doesn't hurt.
It sure is better than ending the year, where he was. So, I'm happy for him. Since Carlos is joining us now, go and get my StatCast dig in before he craps on it. But I mean, StatCast has said that Gino, should have been closer to a league average hitter this year. That's not where we want Gino to be. But I think it's been just a combination of things where he hasn't produced well, and then he's also maybe had some tough luck added on top of it. Playing shortstop, that didn't help him. I don't think, I think that could have messed him up too. I think there's just so many things that just didn't go his way, and let's hope it just all clicks and he just rides this all the way into 2022. Good evening, Carlos.
Hey buddy. Good to have you back. We're just in time. You missed us tipping our cap to the Devil Cardinals. So you didn't have to be around for that. You got to come in. We're talking about some good vibes for the September that Gino had, hitting some bombs for us again, looking like the old Suarez. You said all year, don't let Gino get hot. And unfortunately, Gino got hot when it was a little too late, but we're praying and we're feeling the good vibes going into 2022 for Gino. How you feeling, man?
I mean, I'm all on board. I think like pretty much the rest of us. I mean, it probably took us that for him to have this September for us to not jump off the ledge as diehard fans, because it was a pretty rough September. And between him and Joey and Nick coming on of late, like it's just,
Kyle Farmer
coming through. What's that?
And Kyle Farmer, he's had a monster month.
Well, but I'm used to that. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. We come to expect that.
As everyone now leaves the podcast.
Viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's obviously got to be his job, not just because of this month, but even with this brutal year, like I said, he's had like a Mark Reynolds-esque year where his batting average has been low, but he's still hitting bombs. I don't know how this Mike Moustakas thing works for this team going forward. Obviously, it's a lot of money. I can't imagine he's got much trade value with how much he slumped this year, plus being unhealthy. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what they do. I don't know if baseball really does the buyouts like the NBA does, where like Blake Griffin like all of a sudden plays for the Nets for 500,000. But
Guaranteed.
yeah, so that's pretty tough.
Yeah, it'll be interesting and see what happens this offseason. I mean, if I was a betting man, I don't think we're going to play 162 next year, but who knows? I think we'll get that DH, and it's like, like Nick said at the beginning of the year, you can't have enough good players. So, I
That's
mean,
true.
even with him struggling, give him another offseason to get his stuff together, get healthy, hopefully, and I mean, positive vibes.
Yeah. The DH, I mean, that definitely, creates a spot for both of them. I would imagine the Reds, will try to move one of them if they can. I mean, that's a bigger, trying and doing is two very, very different things. I think if you could just, you have all things are equal, I think I would take Gino just because I feel like his upside is a lot higher. His floor is a lot lower, I feel, but Moustakas hasn't really had a monster year in quite a few years, and I still feel like at least there's a potential for that with Suarez. But Suarez is a little cheaper, and he might be an easier player to move, especially with the September. Someone might be like, hey, you know what? We'll take a shot, especially if there's a DH. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, there's ways to move those kind of contracts, like, similar like Homer Bailey, where you attach a prospect to it. You get something else back in return. That's certainly a way to do it. Another idea that I thought was, maybe you find a relief pitcher or a pitcher similar to like Kevin Gossman. Remember when the Reds got him in 2019?
Oh God, yeah.
Remember, he was kind of he was a salary dump from the Braves when the Reds picked him up off of waivers. Kind of pick up a player like that you like their upside, that the team that has them kind of use them as a bad contract. You can never have enough pitchers to, for next year, especially if, and I know we got some questions on this, especially if the Reds do, decide to move Malley or Gray or someone, you could bring in another pitcher. There's ways to get around it. It's not going to be easy. And Nick Krall's going to have to be creative as hell to find a way, but there are options to move one of them. If you can find a way to get it done. But the CBA, that's a whole nother wrench thrown into all this. It's going to be a wild offseason. Or a very boring offseason until that gets figured out. I don't know.
Yeah. Did I say the negotiations start for that with winter meetings? Does anyone know this?
Oh, negotiations are already starting, but I mean, officially, yeah, like around the winter meetings is when they'll kick off. Like, say they're having serious talks and reports and certain meetings and time like that. But they've been talking for the last couple of years about what they're going to bring to the table and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I believe all of the options, all of like the player options, and then the qualifying offers, those will all be done before the CBA expires. I believe. I think I read that those will all be decided before that. But I can't imagine teams are going to be, really going hard in the free agent market until that's been decided, or there's a path at least looking for that.
Could that play in the Reds' favor for Castellanos, knowing that there potentially could not be a season as or a delayed start?
Can't hurt. I mean, I don't think it's gonna get it over the top, but it doesn't hurt.
There's gonna be no discount on Nick with his agent, so.
That's true.
No matter what
That's a good
happens,
point.
yeah, value.
That's a great point. Yeah, I didn't even think about the Scott Boras effect. Well, like I said, Carlos came in at a really good time because now we're going to talk about the great Joey Votto, 35 home run season. That home run he hit the other day when I was at the stadium that went to the back of the left field Sun Moon deck was insane. Our guy Jamie Ramsey.
Shout out Juan Francisco.
Our guy Jamie Ramsey circled where the ball landed, and I saw it there, and I saw it in the air, and it was one of those as soon as it left the bat, you knew it was gone kind of things. But seeing the trajectory in the air of it was kind of amazing.
It's crazy because nobody's talking about how he was out in front of that ball.
Yeah,
Like he hit and then he swung. Like he was out in front of it. Like he got fooled a bit and still hit it 7 miles.
Yeah, it's insane, man. It's just awesome.
That grown man strength.
Yeah, man. That's like that, like hitting the gym, doing all the things he does there, keeping in shape swing. Obviously, this post All-Star break, just so fun to watch. The 7 homers in 7 days was awesome. Just the fact he was consistently battling. He missed a month of the year and still is 2 homers away from his career high with a trip to Pittsburgh coming up, where his career he's raked. So possibly could see him breaking his career high or tying in homers. But the consummate leader, the fact that we still know for at least 2 more years he's a Red, barring anything happening, which he has that no trade clause, obviously. So, and as Nick is rocking today in his sweet t-shirts, obviously our hero on this show, obviously one of Carlos's good friends. So it's been a freaking joy to see Joey Votto be Joey Votto.
Yeah, it was good. It's been from the beginning. It kind of stinks that he, got sick in spring and basically missed spring training. And then he still ended up, hitting the ball really well in April. Like really, really well. There was no results to show for it, but we kind of knew it was coming. And then, May comes around, and the results start falling, and then, it gets hit in the hand, misses another, however long it was, 4 to 6 weeks, comes back, and then just goes on a monster tear. And then, went on a little bitty slump there at maybe the beginning of September, end of August, and then just, comes right back up. And, just talking with him and going through his off-season stuff and see how he's working out, he'll, we never get too deep into it, but he'll say, "Hey man, I'm feeling good. I'm excited about this season." And that's the way he was this off season. He was super pumped. He's like, sending me, videos of, hitting off the tee and the exit velocity. And you're like, Jesus, that's just off a tee. Like he's doing something different. Like he's in the lab this off season. And that's why at the beginning of the year, whenever we made our predictions, it wasn't, Joey's just my good friend, I'm going to say he's going to win the MVP. He's going to, hit really well just because he's my buddy. But it was like, he's telling me he's going to do it. He hasn't ever told me something that he's going to do and then not do it. So, and I'm pretty sure Reds country can kind of feel with that because, whenever we've doubted him the last couple of years, look at him now. Like everybody said, after that long streak, I'll never doubt him again. And it's crazy how these players, like you hear about the Tom Brady's and the Michael Jordans and the Jeters, like they can all tell when something special is going to happen. And when they say it and it comes true, it's just fun to watch, fun to be a part of. And I'm just glad that we can get to talk about it together and, share it with everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, he's 9th in baseball and expected weighted on base average, ahead of Tatis Jr. and Ohtani. I mean, that's how good he's been. An unbelievable season. The only player that kind of comes to mind that kind of did this, kind of had a resurgence this at this age is Big Papi. I can't think of anyone else that, there's been some players like Chipper Jones who really played great into his, but he didn't have like a dip and back up. Because usually when it's a dip and it's a dip, there's no backup. I think Big Papi
did the same thing.
What's that?
Griffey did the same thing.
King Griffey Jr.
Yeah, man. All-star at 37.
I don't know if it was this good, but
no, it wasn't this good. No, not this good.
King Griffey Jr. What other Griffey do you know? Senior.
I mean, Votto's OPS is 100 points higher than Griffey at that age. So I mean that's insane. Like Griffey, the first ever unanimous Hall of Famer. Like he has 100 points higher OPS at this age. Like
so like right now, where do you think Joey will be in top 10 in MVP voting or top 15?
Oh, that stupid month that he missed. Man, it would be close.
I think he's going to be in the top 10.
I think we'll get in the top 10. I mean, I think it'll be he's probably gonna be right around that fringe. It's gonna be such a weird NL MVP vote because all of the top players are gonna miss the playoffs, like
I love it.
Harper, Tatis, Votto. I mean, Max Muncy's probably. Am I missing some? Is probably the only like legit candidate that's going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's just want to give it to the whole Giants team. Like, I don't. Is there anyone else? Am I missing someone else?
I swear to God, if Buster Posey,
Freddie Freeman, maybe. Freeman's probably up there. Yeah, I don't mean none of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I don't think are MVP range. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of guys that. And that's how baseball is. It's so funny that you can, have the best players and they don't make the playoffs. And that's why it's so dumb that people use the playoffs against Joey Votto. Just look at the NL MVP vote this year and say it's stupid to ever compare baseball players to playoffs.
I don't know if you saw, but I put that silly question on Twitter, like who is Joey more comparable, Tom Brady or LeBron James? And I got, well, how dare you? Joey's never won a playoff game. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Yes, he has, but
or series, whatever it said. And I'm like,
I know he should have got on base more than 50% of the time in that.
Right.
Yeah, I said he should have hit twice in the lineup and pitched.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people forget that 2012 Giants series, he hit 390.
He got on base 50% of the time in that series.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want him to do? I view like playoffs. I only view it as like an extra thing.
Right.
Like David Ortiz, like he definitely deserves extra credit for what he did in the playoffs, but I don't view what someone did or didn't do as like a deterrent to any Hall of Fame. Because it's silly. We're talking like a sample of like 2 months for a guy's entire career postseason stats for guys that were in the playoffs a lot. Like that's so small. It's just and it gets usually elite pitching.
What if Derek Jeter was on the Pirates his entire career? Right.
Yeah. Like, we referenced Griffey earlier. He made the playoffs 3 times his whole career. 3 times. He played in 1 ALCS.
Votto's played in the playoffs more than Griffey.
Yeah.
4, right? Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Wow. Ken Giraffe Jr.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I think, we talked about it last week. I feel like we're all pretty confident that, especially at this pace, I don't know if he'll have this pace. Like, certainly hope so. I'm sure he believes he will. That when his time is done in Cincinnati, he will be the franchise all-time home run leader. And I hope to be there the day he does it. And I will 100% make the road trip to Cooperstown when he makes a speech. I will make sure I am there.
If you're all there and he hits in that homer, will you run on the field?
No, because
I'll bail you out.
You still got that big league money you can get me out?
I'm sure my wife's got some tucked under the couch or something.
Sure mine does too. So, kind of before we get into, we got some questions that people want to have to ask us, but real quick, I think one of the things this month particularly people were talking about is a lot of new faces that came to the Reds, which was good and frustrating for some people. Guys like Jose Barrero, TJ Friedel, Delino DeShields Jr., Reimer St. Martin, who I was blown away with seeing him pitch in person for his debut. I thought he was awesome. And also looks just like Jimmy Butler, the NBA player.
That was wild. That was awesome.
Yeah. And then we got a couple more guys there, but Moretta, who I also saw pitch, really good stuff. I mean, like I had really good seats that game, and his stuff was pretty nice. And then O'Brien, who didn't have the best start yesterday. You saw David Bell kind of manage with urgency as he was 1 2/3 in before he went to Sessa. But I know a lot of people, and I'm going to be very unpopular here. I'm well aware, and this is a total small sample size. Delino DeShields wasn't awful at the plate his time, like that 3 or 4 weeks he was here. Like he wasn't awesome, but he wasn't terrible.
Yeah, he's played well. I mean, I definitely think that would be exposed over, any sort of, large sample. But, I mean, the Reds were kind of at a point with Winker out and Senzel. I mean, where they didn't have a lot of options against, left-handed pitching. And I think they were, looking for something, and yeah, he played well. I mean, I'm not gonna like be like, yeah, that was the right move,
Right,
great
yeah, I don't
job on
either.
Delino, but I'm not gonna sit there and crap on the guy that played well either. I've been impressed with TJ Friel. I know last night was a really, really rough ball game for him. But yeah, he's hit well. And I think for every report I've heard is he's a better defender than hitter. So it's funny how what you see in like 2 week samples. But yeah, he's a guy that hey, maybe he can get into the mix next year. He just kind of seems like a guy that, and this is something the Reds were really, really, I feel, lacking this year. When a guy went down for injury, the Reds had no one in AAA they could call up. He seems like a guy that you can send to AAA to start the year next year, and the first outfit injury, you can call him up, and you're going to feel comfortable with him. And that's it's way more important than I think we often think or give credit to.
Yeah, he'll be a 4A guy, and this all these call ups and stuff. It's fine. I'm not putting too much weight on any of them really, other than Schrock. Like, he got a lot of playing time and he did pretty well.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool to see. Like, I think he's got a legitimate shot to make the team next year, no matter who they bring in. Especially if they lose Nick, then he'll definitely make the team. But Barrero, he's gonna get his time. That's been kind of an odd one lately. I know, whenever he got called up, I was, making the case why he's not playing and why he shouldn't be playing. And then towards the end, I kind of wanted him to get some more ABs, and he wasn't getting those. And I don't know why, but it's got to be a good reason. I mean, David Bell's just not going to play him because he doesn't want to play him. I mean, once you get to the big leagues, your prospect status doesn't matter. David Bell has no idea what prospect number you were. He sees what he sees. He goes off of last year. He goes off of spring training. He goes off of what the AAA manager told him, and he puts him in where he sees fit. And I trust it, and I don't see any other reason why we shouldn't. Some of the other guys, I'm just kind of looking at the box score right now and see we got one freaking hit.
You can say.
I mean, the pitchers, they're gonna be up and down all year next year. I mean, I'm not worried about the pitching. The starting pitching, the bullpen should be okay with the guys that they can bring back, and that's not counting any additions or anything like that. So, I'm not too down on what they have at AAA to get with it, to pick from there next year when people get hurt and stuff like that. Because you've seen guys get called up and they're capable and they're able to do what they can. Like, as good as Santillan's been, he might start in AAA. Like, and he's been really solid, out of the bullpen. They might want to make him a starter again. Who knows? But like I said, I'm not too down on what they have and able to choose from down there next year.
Yeah, I mean, Brewer has started 5 of the last 10 games. I know it probably hasn't felt like that, but he has been out there. He's got some pinches. He's been double switched in. And anything you can give him this year is good. I think a lot of people, or said he didn't get, more playing time or sit in AAA. I think, Carlos, you said, I mean, I think they've seen it all they can see at AAA. And I think this is just good to get his feet wet. Yeah, I personally, I think it's great that he's come up and Kyle Farmer has raked in September. I think that's great. I think that's and Carlos, you can speak to this way better than we can. I think that's the thing that goes, hey, hey, I better do my work this offseason. I better come to spring training ready if I want to get the shortstop job. And I know everyone looks at that as a down thing. Competition's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's back to the Barrero thing, like, who knows what could be going on. Like, every player is different. Every player is a different person. Like, you can be 21 and ready to go out the gate like Ken Griffey Jr., or you could be 21 and be more like Barrero, where it takes you a little longer to get used to it. He's in a different country. Like, yes, he's been here before, but I mean, he's seeing the bright lights. He's seeing the biggest hotels. He's seeing all the fans. Like, it's a different world out there. And he's a pro ball player, but this is his first time ever being a real pro ball player. That affects people differently. I can speak to my minimal time. Whenever I was up there with the Padres, like I hardly knew anybody. I feel like if I would have got called up with the Reds, I would have felt way more comfortable because I knew the catcher, I knew the first baseman, I knew the left fielder. When I went to the Reds, I knew nobody. When I went to the Padres, I knew nobody. It was like being the new kid in school. It has, a different effect on people. Maybe somebody else it wouldn't affect it the way that it affected me. But, it had a small percentage of the way that I performed, somebody else that might not at all. So that's just kind of like a different factor to think in whenever you're talking about like Barrero, and maybe they see that he's not ready. He needs a little bit more seasoning. And that could be just outside the ropes, not inside the ropes, because that stuff matters.
I love it.
Play the other day.
Yeah, I love that. I love that they're playing him in center field.
Me too.
Position flexibility, man. Push that as much as you can, so you don't get stuck with Eugenio Suarez playing shortstop, but the other way around, getting stuck playing someone in center field that's not as capable. At worst, Kyle Farmer is a really good defensive shortstop. So if you have both of them on the field together, at least you're gonna, have some good defense. So yeah, I like that they tried that. Why not? I don't think it hurts him. I don't think it's gonna kill him. Plenty of guys have played center field and shortstop or center field and third base or whatever and been fine.
Yeah, I think also when people complain about the Kyle Farmer thing, like, let's not forget, there were years when, like, Edgar Renteria was playing shortstop for the Reds. Like, we sat through that. Like, we dealt with that. Wilson Valdez, 1 year, played shortstop for the Reds. So, like, I'm cool with Kyle Farmer. I'm all in. So, yeah, I think we should kind of take it back again and just remember the short stuff we've had to get through to where we're now having this situation of a really good player and potentially Jose Barrero. So
yeah, and look at the Red shortstops in 2010, 2012, and 2013 and the production they got. The Reds got so much more this year. So it, it all adds up different ways, and you want to have as many good players, as many good positions, but you can't get by with not a lot of offense production there if you have really good pieces elsewhere.
Yeah, you can't get by with Orlando Cabrera anymore.
That is second. Oh, it still stinks.
Yeah. Like Carlos kind of mentioned the pitching and how he felt pretty confident, and I agree. We talked about the start of the show. I had to say, I made a mention for a second, and I really like getting Carlos's take, obviously, especially on pitchers, as far as like their big league debut and what he sees from them. But San Martin, I was at the game Monday, like I said, and I had really good seats. I was right, a little bit off the home dugout. And just kind of seeing like the way he carried himself on the mound, and I understand it's a makeup game on a Monday afternoon against the Pirates. So I'm not going to, take anything away from what it was. But he attacked every batter. He battled with everybody. If he got in situations where he was losing an at bat, he battled back in it. I was really impressed. Like, if that's a guy that's going to be starting the season at Louisville next year, like that's a guy I'm excited about his future. Again, only 5 2/3 innings, I'm well aware, but I was pretty impressed with what he did in that game.
Yeah, I mean, you tell he's different than a lot of the guys that they had come and make spot starts and even come out of the bullpen. He's, like you said, very poised, carries himself well, acted like he belonged there. Like you could tell He wasn't like looking around where the ball's coming from or, anything like that after he strikes a guy out. Like he, it's just another day at the park for him. And that's encouraging. And his stuff was really good. It was really good. I'm excited to watch him pitch again next year.
I got to admit too, that's a decent cut has a decent swing. Not terrible.
Yeah, his like fielding independent pitching and stuff was a lot better than his ERA at AAA. Didn't walk too many guys, didn't give a lot of home runs, struck out an above average rate. So I don't want to make too much about that start in that spot, but hey, it was positive, I think nice guy to have starting the year in AAA next year. That hey, if because there's going to be times you need for a doubleheader or whatnot, and hey, call them up, and there'll be injuries. There'll definitely be injuries. So
yeah, happens every year. I think we're at the point now where we got some fan questions. So I'm pretty excited for these. Obviously, like I said, being at the show, thank you to everyone who sent us these all year and hung out with us all year. This has been awesome. So some of these we're seeing some names that we've seen before, and some are some new people. So we're excited. So we're gonna go first with our guy from WV Redlegs. I know Carlos and him trade off their grill pictures on Twitter, and it just makes me want to go
It's
visit
got
you
nice
guys and
meat.
eat with you guys. Yeah, the brisket that you get down there is probably way better than the brisket I get here, right?
Well, I'm sure you could get some quality meat up there. Just got to pay for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's right. His question's a good one. It's, what do you think the Reds should do with the catcher situation heading into 2022? Stevenson needs to be in the lineup, but should he, with the possibility of a national DH, be more focused on first base? Obviously, the big cloud over the head here is Tucker Barnhart's in his free agent year. So I think a lot of people have kind of said Tucker Barnhart's kind of the perfect backup catcher as far as like that defensive guy you can count on, who can make things happen and kind of control a game. I do agree. Tyler Stevenson needs to get as many at bats as possible. I think he was tremendous this year. I think we all kind of feel that way. But if there's a situation where they can keep Tucker Barnhart back, on the team, I would love it. But I don't feel confident in that because I feel like some team is going to want him to be their everyday catcher. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think if they're gonna spend money this offseason, then they'll keep him because he will be the perfect backup. Like I think Stevenson should start. He should focus on catching next year, or this offseason, and he'll take his ground balls and stuff like that at first base if that DH comes. I'm not worried about that. He's fine over there already. But I mean, it's all about if they're going to spend money or not, or whether we'll see Tucker back in the Reds uniform. I mean, he's right. He's the perfect guy to have there, because if Stevenson goes down, you're not going to be hurting too bad at the catching position, So.
Yeah, I think if you kind of look through the Reds salaries, even if they do add payroll, I don't see how the money adds up to spend basically $7 million, because he has a $7.5 million option, but you have to pay $500,000 to buy him out. So it's a $7 million. That's a lot of money for a backup catcher with the other needs you're going to have. I think everyone sees, if Nick Castellanos is gone, that's 16 million. If Wade Miley doesn't come back, that's 10 million. Or, Tyler Mahle and Luis Castillo are going to get big raises this offseason. So I don't see how the money works out. The Reds non-tendered Casale last year. The Giants picked him up for $2 million. So that's a $5 million difference for your backup catcher. That's a lot of money. And I know something we'll really get into during, our off-season shows is probably, guys at Target and things. And I talked to our buddy Clay about that a lot. Guy that really would make a lot of sense for the Reds as a free agent would be Yan Gomes, because he mashes left-handed pitchers. So if the Reds, did play Tyler Stevenson maybe at first base against left-handed pitchers, he would slide really well in, because Tyler Stevenson is not going to catch 162 games. So yeah, I think Tucker Barnes is probably worth that $7.5 million. I just don't think he's worth that to the Reds with their other needs and where they're at.
Depends too if he's got a good relationship with Bob. If he's got a good relationship, then he's back, baby.
Oh man, you're just trying to get everyone in an uproar again, Carlo, aren't you? All right, this is from Chris at Cincy Action. Is it at all realistic to hope they keep Castellanos, Miley, and Tucker without trading another large contract? Not counting Shogo or Moose, as they at any rate would be impossible to trade without packaging prospects. Is it realistic? Sure. Is it likely? I don't know. I think we all kind of, you guys can tell me if you disagree. I think we're all kind of in the expectation that Nick Castellanos will not be a Red next year. And that's not because he doesn't want to be, it's because he's going to be the best available hitting free agent in baseball. It just is what it is. The Reds are going to have to match someone a lot of money. And like Nick said, they have a lot of needs right now that they're, going to have to attack. So
Padres need a right fielder.
Right. They're, that's a good fit for him. I'm sure that the Phillies would love to have him hitting in front of Bryce Harper next year when Andrew McCutchen's not there anymore. So, who knows, man? Obviously, I would love nothing more to see Nick Castellanos playing for the Reds again next year, but I don't feel the confident that we're going to see all three of those guys back. Maybe I feel the most confident Wade will be back at the three.
So I kind of did some rough math, kind of looking through the payroll. So if the Reds declined Barnhart's option, picked up Miley's, and Castellanos walks, the Reds payroll is actually right about where it's at now, which, because of the raises. Now, again, they could be creative and move Moustakas or Suarez, like our question said, and that frees up some money. But yeah, I mean, the Reds are going to have to increase payroll to keep Castellanos or to sign really any other big free agent. I would almost think it's probably more likely if the Reds are increasing payroll that it is for Nick Castellanos than a free agent. Bob tends to really be drawn to the fan favorites. And when we say Bob, we really should say the ownership group, because Bob does not make the sole decisions of all these things. He's only a part of the ownership group. But they do seem more likely to pay their own players, and increase salary, increase payroll for that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. But yeah, I think that you go into our next question, because it kind of was what I was about to say next.
What's the percentage chance that everyone has of Nick Castellanos returning?
Who's that from? Make sure we shout him out.
That is from Ethan Fulkerson. I'm saying right now, 25%.
I think it's literally probably about exactly. I'll go 30. I'll be more optimistic.
So I'm more like 15 to 20.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I'd take him over anybody else who's available right now. Take him over like a number 3 starter, number 2 starter. Like, he's just in there every day. He's grinding. He works hard. Like, he's very fun to watch. Been nothing but great for the team, for the city. It'd be nice to have him back and make another run at it for a little bit.
Yeah, I think, and this isn't just because we've had Ryan on the show a couple of times and the way Ryan talks about it. Like, I think he genuinely really likes it here. I think, it seems like he really enjoys being a Red. And he talks a lot about like what the fan base means, as far as like how you can tell how passionate the fans are and how he really loves that. So I don't necessarily know if that is going to get in the way of money. It won't. But it's one of the things where like, hopefully you can use your advantage. I know he played for the Cubs for a half a year and their fans are pretty crazy. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be super cool to see him here for another couple of years. But
the top of that lineup with India and Stevenson, Winker. Like, we already forgot about Winker. He's been gone 6 weeks and we're like, we haven't even mentioned him. Like, maybe at the beginning of the show, but
yeah, you got to think Tyler Naquin will probably be back.
Votto, like Stevenson, and if we get half of Suarez back, like,
yeah, Tyler Naquin's more than likely going to be on the team again next year. I can't imagine the Reds are going to let him go for nothing. So
he won't be nothing. He will get an arbitration raise. So that's why the Indians let him go. The Reds got him for a lot cheaper than the Indians could have had.
That's why Bob told Barrero to take him out so he won't be as expensive.
Oh man. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I would be very disappointed if they didn't bring Naquin back for a couple $1 million. I mean, he's definitely a really solid hitter against right-handed pitching.
He's a Kirby favorite. Say it.
Hey, I've been wrong about a lot. I was damn right about Tyler Naquin this year, so I'm writing that out.
Hopefully they change his name, Naquin.
I think that actually is how it is, but no one wants to do it because it just doesn't sound as cool.
He doesn't correct anybody either, so
it sounds so much. Naquin sounds so much cooler. I mean,
especially when he hits homers.
Yeah.
So that brings us to Kyle Carlson, kind of going along with the trend here. What free agents do we let go? What free agents do we resign, if any? I think Michael Lorenz will be back. I don't think he's going to have a giant market. That's not to say he's a bad player. But I don't know a lot of teams are going to be like chomping at the bit to pay a reliever a lot of money. And I think he's got a good relationship with the organization. I think he really likes the idea that he can play two ways if the Reds allow him to, as far as like being in the outfield and getting at bats. We've seen him really cherish and relish those opportunities in the past. So I think that I think he'll be back with the team.
Actually, there's probably like a 5% chance that Lorenzen's back.
Really?
Yeah, he was paid as a starter this year.
Okay.
If Lorenzen wouldn't have been considered a starter, the Reds would have non-tendered him. So yeah, I think someone is going to give him starter money. Whether he can actually, work as a starter, I don't know. Remains to be
So
seen.
the Giants.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he will probably win the Cy Young for the Giants next year. That'd be a great ballpark for him to play in, especially with the ability to play center field and Kapler's creativity. Why'd you put that out there? Oh, but yeah, he honestly might be I hate the Giants because of 2012, but man, secretly they're hard to root against. I love the way they built their team, and that is exactly like literally do every single thing the Giants did this year. That's what I want the Reds to do. It's flawless, but yeah, I actually think he's probably out of anyone probably the least likely to return. I would say Barnhart's more likely to return.
What do I know then?
Well, it's I think if you're viewing him as a reliever, sure, but I think there's going to be. I think the Reds we've been spoiled with our starting pitching over the last couple of years. There's a lot of teams that are just so desperate for starting pitchers. I mean, look at some of the starters that were signed this offseason for $5, $6, $7, $8 million. They're not good. And Lorenzen's at least, I think, close to a league average pitcher, maybe a little less as a starter, but that's still valuable to teams. Even like a guy with a 4.5 ERA that can eat you 150 innings, that is valuable for teams.
I'll just skip this question.
Yeah, I guess the more you think about it, I'm like, man, Michael Lorenzen pitching for the Oakland A's makes sense. Like that big ballpark.
He's probably going to want to hit.
Yeah, he can DH there.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think he's going to get the Ohtani treatment and be able to
definitely not.
I don't think he's earned.
He's going to try to push for it a lot. This is probably like his last chance, because if he doesn't get it next year, then that's going to be a wash. Like it's going to be gone out the window. So he's probably has like one more hurrah. You saw at the end of this year, a couple of times he tried to talk David Bell into getting an AB, and he wouldn't let it happen. That's just because he was hurt all year or a lot of the year. So.
Well, then what after happened in his first game back, they're like, nope, yeah. We are not doing this.
Yeah, I was at that game. That sucked.
Oh, man. We got another question I want to throw in. I think we have another one too, but it kind of goes right along with what we're saying. Max, if you could pick one of the three, Miley, Tucker, or Castellanos to come back, who is it? I would definitely pick Castellanos.
Same.
Definitely has the most impact. I think Miley's the most likely of the three. I think Miley could get traded. I think Miley's option could get picked up and he gets traded this offseason. That would make a lot of sense for the Reds. But everyone in agreement? Castellanos?
Yeah. Castellanos. I'd go in that order too. Castellanos, Miley, Tucker.
Yeah, there's just something about the dude that when the game's on the line, he wants the bat in his hand. You got to like that dude, so.
Who? Miley?
Yeah, Miley.
Knock a double real quick on you.
Yeah, that should go.
You just had to.
I had to. I'm sorry. Birds are down 6-0 in the 8th to the White Sox, and
they still have one hit.
I don't know. Been all in on the show, boys. All in on the show.
And the Brewers are up 4-0.
Well, they got two.
In the bottom of the 9th.
Don't believe it. Double magic still there.
It is. So speaking of the Brewers, Brewers pitcher Devin Williams fractured his hand punching a wall. Carlos, have you or a teammate ever got hurt celebrating being angry in your career?
I haven't. Teammates have. I'm trying to think who it was. Somebody in AA.
This was my question.
Dang it. I forget who it was in Double A. I'm sure I'll think of it soon. Hopefully before the end of the show. But yeah, somebody got hurt like punching the paper towel dispenser, like that cheap plastic. I'm like, oh, you go for the softest thing in the dugout and you still break your hand. God, who was it? I can't remember. I'll think of my buddy David Schaefer. He was a good reliever. I think he got put on the 40 man with the A's. He got picked up by the A's, he got put on the 40 man with them, but he had a really good Double A year in 2006. And he might have had a one bad outing or something like that. And he went in there and busted it up. And that was it. That was the end of him with the Reds.
What is like? How does Devin Williams recover from that?
You don't.
Like,
I mean,
you're gonna miss.
You're not gonna want to see him around the clubhouse. I'll tell you that.
Oh, and you're gonna miss the playoffs.
It's because you got drunk and then you got mad, probably at a girlfriend or I don't know, married or whatever, and then freaking punched a hole because he had too many beers, too many White Claws or whatever. Seems like a White Claw guy. So
he's the off-brand White Claw.
Yeah, he's more of a Truly.
Yeah, definitely a Truly guy
for sure.
Who was the Angels pitcher in 06 or 07 that got injured playing Guitar Hero? Do you remember that?
Oh, CJ Wilson?
It might have been.
Seems like a CJ Wilson type thing.
That happened to a couple of people too during that Double A year. I remember the spring training.
Was that banned from the clubhouse?
Yeah.
No Guitar Hero in Chattanooga.
Everyone's got blisters.
In in my brief time up there, whenever we went to go play in San Francisco had the not the Duck Hunter, but it was some sort of handheld game, and Jake Peavy was in there and he lost, and he busted that gun up and broke it on the side of the video game. Everybody's looking back what happened? And he's just by himself beating it up.
I never asked you this because you were there the year after the 2007 game 163 between the Padres and Rockies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever hear any crazy stories or anything about that? Just because that's one of my favorite baseball games ever.
No, they didn't.
It's something they just never touched.
About it. Mm-mm.
Never mentioned.
Nope, not even in spring training or anything. They never brought it up and never said, "Hey, we were this close. We're going to do this." It wasn't about that. It was it was a brand new team. There's no looking back really. Whenever you're, during spring training or anything like that, there's no point on it. Even if you won the World Series, who cares what you did a couple of months ago? It's all moving forward. So
that 07 Rockies team has one of my favorite stories of all time. So, that was the team that played the Red Sox in the series. And so this is in Francona's book, actually. He was talking, I read his book, and they were talking about, so there was I think they were going to Colorado from Fenway. Jeff Francis started the last game in Fenway before they went to Colorado. And Pedroia hit a bomb off of him over the monster, just crushed it. So Pedroia is trying to get into the road clubhouse at Colorado. And they're we can't let you in. He's I'm Dustin Pedroia. I played for the Red Sox in the second baseman. Kind of similar to that story of Joey when he's at Wrigley and he's hey, tell them who I am kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're we can't let you in. He's here's my MLB PA ID. I'm Dustin Pedroia. And they're sir, we apologize. We can't let you in. We can't prove who you are. And he goes, why don't you go in there and ask Jeff Francis who the fuck I am? Sorry for saying the F word, but I feel like I wasn't doing this story any justice if I didn't use it. So,
the Padres made all the necessary moves. They brought in the right players to go for that championship run in 08. Some of their players just didn't perform.
Jeff Francis one start with the Reds, man.
I remember that.
He was actually, I think, he's on the 2012 team, and he was the top 4A pitcher, and no one got hurt all year, and he never got up. And I think when you get to June, if the players have the right to be to say, I'm done, I want out. I think that's what happened with him. But yeah, I remember everyone was expecting him to pitch for the Reds at some point that year, and it never happened. Oh well.
Yeah, it happens.
Or Jeff. Eric Fedbeck said thank you for your research, Eric. Joel Zamaya was
the Guitar Hero injury.
The Tigers was the famous pitcher with the Guitar Hero injury.
Oh,
he was the closer, I think, right?
Joel threw like 103.
Yeah.
Like he was the first. Like he was one of the first ones. Like, oh my God, this dude's throwing 100. And now he's a dime a dozen. Whatever.
Yeah. Got a guy
that's nothing.
Single A doing that, just dashed
with a much higher spin rate. Whatever, bro.
Before we get out of here, so kind of let you guys know, like Nick said, we are anticipating we're going to be doing shows during the off season. Through the rest of the month of October, you'll have us on our typical Wednesday night. But switching in November at the end of the Monday Night Football run and the NBA season starting, and my hectic college basketball schedule, we will be going Monday nights. But same format. We're going to be going, having the live chat. We're going to be here with you guys during the CBA arrangements and the winter meetings, and who's going to still be a Red, who's not going to be a Red. We got some cool announcements too that we're working on. Some big news. So again, we'll be back here next week. I think is that NL wildcard night or is that AL wildcard night?
It's NL wildcard night. So we'll be on like about when that game's going on. Clay Snowden's going to join us to recap the season.
Apparently, Clay Snowden can recap every team in the MLB for us if we needed to.
He's a legend, man.
We're going to let him tell us that story when he gets on next week on why he can do that.
I bit my tongue when he put that thing out today.
The weird Clay.
He put that thing out today on Twitter, and it took everything in me to not tweet him back, where he was like, keep a lookout for the Pirates. They might be pretty good in 2023. And I was so badly wanted to be like, stop me if you heard this before.
Hey, Tim, you're not allowed to jinx it. You don't jinx it.
Right. God damn it, Tim.
2023 Pirates are going to be the 21 Giants. Tim did it. Tim did it again.
Son of a bitch.
The worst
all
part
right, Reds better go all in 2022 because it's over in 23. No chance.
Nick cuts all these videos and like, we'll keep these. So if like the Pirates go on like a 6-game winning streak in 2023, he'll be like, you remember when you said this?
It's already saved.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for this. Really appreciate it. We're excited to be back next week with Clay. Hope you guys enjoyed this last week of, I'm keeping an eye on the Mariners. That's the team I'm hoping sneaks in because they're pretty close. So
I'm rooting for chaos. I want a game on Monday night.
That'd be fun. I'd be all for that. All right. Thank you all. Have a great night and go Reds.